Are you coming to the tree where dead men called out for his love to flee?
For example, our mutual acquaintance, Michael Jan, he has been covering the wide open border and the how Mayorkas has funded camps in the Darien Gap and Panama, staging areas for an ongoing invasion of the United States. And then now, with the U.S. supporting Israel's ongoing bombardment of civilian targets, hospitals, universities, refugee camps in Gaza, we run the very real risk, and this is what I'd like your response to, the very real risk of many of the illegals in the United States becoming more activated or more radicalized if they happen to be, let's say, Palestinians or linked to Hamas or something. So couldn't there be a very real domestic risk of, suicide bombers or what have you because of the poorly thought out policies of the way the U.S. State Department is interacting with Israel?
Well, I think the answers to your questions are yes and yes. First of all, we don't even know who's inside the United States. We have no idea how many illegals are really here. I spoke to a couple of people who have to remain anonymous for obvious reasons over at Homeland Security. And I asked specifically, the numbers that have been published say that we might have 8 million illegals in the country, and they began laughing.
Right.
He said, "Are you kidding?" And I said, "No, this is what's out." He said, "Well, we've got at least 28 million, probably more." And went on to explain that 7 or 8 million have come across the border since Biden became president.
If you've been to a protest or have been paying attention to the news lately, there's a good chance you've heard this.
Defund the police.
Defund police departments.
Defund the police.
It's a rallying cry that has gained traction following the killing of George Floyd by police and the outbreak of global protests against anti-Black racism and police brutality.
The state of Washington has just enacted a dozen police reform laws following nearly a year of nationwide protest over police brutality.
Politicians were successful in moving away critical funds to police stations. And now what we are seeing across the country is violence surging right now in many areas. Just yesterday, we had politicians getting carjacked in some cities. So we are continuing to follow everything for you right here on Live Now from Fox. But let's break it all down on what some of these politicians are doing right now. After George Floyd's death at the hands of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin in the summer of 2020 ignited a wave of protest across the country calling for major overhauls in the U.S. criminal justice system. The phrase defund the police not only became a rallying cry, but served as a litmus test separating moderates from the progressive left.
Some big cities say they are scrambling to find enough police officers.
It's something the CBS 2 investigators are tracking in Chicago, but we start with CBS 2's Christian Benavides reporting on how departments nationwide are struggling to keep enough officers on the streets.
In the midst of a crime wave, Stockton, California's police department was understaffed by 100 officers, and the community noticed.
Sometimes I see it 1 or 2 around, but that's kind of a rare occurrence.
New Orleans has had so much trouble recruiting officers, the city is hiring civilians to take on some of the work.
With the new year comes some new state laws, and tonight we're taking a closer look at Senate Bill 960. This law took effect at the start of the year, changing the qualifications to become a police officer here in California. Now, anyone who can legally work in the state under federal law can become a police officer, regardless of citizenship.
Governor Pritzker recently signed more than 130 bills, and among the new laws, one allowing non-citizens to become police officers in Illinois.
Political reporter Scott Schneider live in studio with details on this. Scott.
Anthony Nelly, this law requires that immigrants be legally authorized to work under federal law. The bill's sponsor called it a natural progression now that some undocumented immigrants can become healthcare workers and military members. However, it's been highly criticized by Republicans and the Illinois Fraternal Order of Police.
First at 6, we've been hearing for years now about staffing shortages within the Portland Police Bureau and the effect it's having on police response. Several times, Police Chief Chuck Lavelle has indicated the Bureau is having trouble recruiting officers. But upon closer inspection, there's a lot more going on when it comes to the Bureau's hiring practices. Fox 12's Simon Gutierrez joins us now in studio to explain.
Yeah, Nora, it's no secret the police bureau has been understaffed, but it turns out that's not for a lack of interest in the job. In reality, the police bureau isn't having trouble attracting applicants, it's having trouble hiring them.
Well, hundreds of bills are awaiting Governor Pritzker's signature over the next few months, and among them is House Bill 3751. That would allow non-citizens to become police officers here in Illinois. Representative Barbara Hernandez from Aurora is the sponsor of the bill, and she joins us now live. Representative, thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So this is something that you've been working on for a while here, and as I read it, it involves any immigrant who is here legally, maybe people who are DACA recipients. Tell us how this essentially works.
Yeah, so California has a similar bill for DACA recipients. They're a different level of undocumented individuals. DACA recipients are approved federally to work in the United States, in this country. Therefore, they're able to have different types of jobs that maybe in the past they couldn't because of their legal status. But there's some jobs that actually need our work for legislation. And therefore, one of them being of the police officers.
Did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the hanging tree. Are you coming to the tree where dead men called out for his love to flee? Strange things did happen here, no stranger would it be if we met at midnight in the